Welcome back to the Course Creation Incubator. I'm Gina Onativia, online course coach and consultant, and today you and I are getting a freaking masterclass in list building. And it comes from my dear friend, Selena Knight. Sal is a badass retail and e-commerce strategist. Here's what's on our website. I want to help you create profitable, sustainable, and highly sought after retail or e-commerce brands by discovering what you need to focus on as a CEO of your business. Now, Sal talks to her entrepreneurs about being the CEO versus being the shopkeeper, and I think we can relate to that a little bit inside of our own businesses. And Sal doesn't just help retail brands. She's here to help all of us internet marketers, including us course creators. I love Sal because she sees things no one else sees. She has incredibly creative ideas, and she pushes you beyond your comfort zone. You're in for a real treat. Let's talk about putting your list building on autopilot. Welcome, Sal. I'm so excited to have you on the podcast.
Hey, Gina. Super excited to share some knowledge about list building.
Yes, you are the expert. All right, I thought we would start with the heart of this episode. What does it mean to put your list building on autopilot?
I mean, at the end of the day, you have no business if you have no customers. And we get so caught up in the building of the business and getting your product to market. If that's a course, creating the course, what am I going to put in it? Getting your graphics done, getting your videos done. But at the end of the day, all of that means nothing if you have no one to buy the course. And realistically, you should be building that customer base before you ever build your course. Because in the end, if you're building your course first, you're building something and then trying to find customers. Why don't you find customers and then build the thing that they want? So one of my first tips is, if you're just starting out, build your customer base first, because you need to know what they want. But you asked me about autopilot. So I'm going to work backwards. So
Okay.
my whole philosophy is work backwards. So when you are sitting there working out what is it you're going to create to attract those customers, so that there are 6 parts of the customer journey, just quickly. You've got to attract them, you've got to catch them, and the catch part is your lead magnet. You've got to connect with them, and we tend to do that in our nurture sequences, through our webinars, through podcasts, through social media, and then you need to convert them. That's the part you all want. So we have to, don't just go straight from attract to convert. And then you've got to keep them. So we have what we call boomerangs, the people who come back again and again, and we have drum beaters. They're the people who may or may not buy from you, but they tell everyone about you. So understanding just the fact that these people have to go through this process really helps you to work backwards. So working back from the boomerangs and the drum beaters, the next part is going to be convert. That's the thing that you're going to sell them. And then you have to connect with them, catch them, and attract with them. So what most people do wrong is they build a lead magnet or a freebie or an opt-in or a checklist, whatever that looks like, to try and catch people without knowing what they want that person to do. What is the end result that you want your customers to take? And I'm kind of guessing it's buy your thing, buy your course, buy your product, buy your services, but you also want to keep them. So let's just go with the convert part, because that's the part you're all focusing on. If you already have an opt-in or a lead magnet, is the thing that you've got in any way connected to the action that you want them to take? And I'm guessing for 9 out of 10 people, the answer is no. It's just, well, I had this idea, so I made it into a lead magnet.
Okay, let me stop you there for a second. You're just spinning so much gold. So I just want to break this down a little bit. And I love boomerang and drum beaters. You have the best names, Sal. You're saying that a lot of times our lead magnets, we're just throwing them out there. Like, can you give me an example either of like a mistake lead magnet where it has nothing to ultimately do with conversion, or the flip side, one that you're like, that was dialed in. They knew exactly what
I can give you 2 of mine.
Okay, go.
The one that was super dialed in. So I work with retail and e-commerce businesses. The one that is super dialed in, I can get leads for like $1 each, is how 9 ways to move stock without having a sale, right? But it makes sense because I will call it a course, but it's a growth building tool. But my course is all about scaling your business. And you can't scale your business if you've got all this dead inventory hanging around. It makes sense. I have another one, something like 5 ways to grow your tribe. You know me, I don't even hang out on social media. Why the freaking heck do I have? Exactly. So here's the thing.
But why did you create that one though? But why? What was your thought process behind that so we can learn?
Yes. Okay. So I made that because everybody is obsessed with how to make social media work. The thing is, I don't have the answer to that. I'm not a social media expert. I am a growth strategist. I can scale your business, but I'm not going to scale it using social media. I'm going to scale it using strategy. So if you have social media problems, I give you to somebody else. Go to my Facebook and my Instagram. There's not an awful lot there. I know I could do better. But I thought, and it's very, very true, anything social media related gets people to download it because no one understands social media.
And they want it to work so much, to your point. But that's not your wheelhouse, though.
It's not my wheelhouse.
And I think it's brilliant that you're like, you know what? That's not where I shine. So
do you know the other thing, though?
Let that go.
There are words, without going into the whole branding aspect, you could do a really fun brand archetype quiz. There's loads of them out there. But when you understand how other people see your brand, all of a sudden you start realizing there is no way that I would ever use the word tribe. Like,
right. You would never use that. I know
I would never use that word.
You would never.
My customers would never expect me to use the word tribe. I'm what's called a hero brand. I'm very authoritative. I show people how to do things. I show people how to get results, and I push them to get results. The word tribe does not appear in my vocabulary.
No.
So there's one that went wrong. Funnily enough, we didn't get anyone downloading that one.
And there you go. Because there's a disconnect with your brand and what you're really good at. Your
what I'm really good at. And also, the thing is, we had a couple of people who downloaded it, and then when they went through my trainings, it was kind of like, well, there's no social media stuff here.
Right.
But they were like, but I opted into this thing about social media.
So there's no through line.
There's no through line.
Yeah, right? You hooked them this way, and then you leave them hanging.
And that's when people get frustrated, when there's a disconnect between the expectation and what's delivered. So it's not that my thing's bad. My thing's awesome. It helps lots of people make money, but they thought it was something very, very different. And it was actually quite good because we took something away. In our sales page, we now say, you will not learn anything about social media inside of this course.
Love it.
What you will learn is the words you need to use to attract your customers and get them to buy. So we teach those,
right?
But there's not a social media strategy in there.
And I love it. You and I talk all the time about attracting and repelling. And we're like, those people are not right for you. They could go find another guru or expert, right? So, okay, keep going. I'm sorry, I cut you off. So you were talking about
That's okay. Think of it like a runway.
Okay.
Right? But work backwards. So what's takeoff? Takeoff is you want them, to me, takeoff is actually after they've gone through your course and they're those advocates. So, you lift off just before as the wheels are coming up. That's the buying of the course. And then let's work backwards. So what is the thing that if somebody was talking to you, like if someone was in a Facebook group and another person was looking for whatever it is you sell, what would they be saying about you? What would they be saying about the information, the knowledge that they learned from you? That is what should be in your lead magnet.
Great.
Now, your original question was putting it on autopilot. And I will autopilot anything. Like I'm the queen of hacking automation. The thing is, you can autopilot this, but someone still needs to be measuring it. So you can have a lead magnet, but you've got to put it on all the places. You've got to see which is, you can take an educated guess. My people are not on TikTok. I know that because my people tend to be 40 plus, but I know that they hang out on Facebook, but they like to look on Instagram. So what we do is we have like a retarget where we show people stuff on Instagram, but we know that they're not going to click on it. So then we hit them back again on Facebook. And you can find all of this stuff out. If you've got Facebook ads account, they have this amazing thing called Facebook Audience Insights, and it will tell you all the things that your customers love. You can use your Google Analytics to look at your website and see where are people hitting, where are they dropping off, and it will give you a lot of information. But yes, you can 100% autopilot this, and you should. But with the caveat that you always need to be testing and measuring. So is it better putting it in a pop-up on the website? Is it better as an exit intent? Is it, I mean, one of the things that you and I just talked about just before we got on here is I have this really cool quiz. And when we built the quiz, it was find out the thing that's holding your business back. But then I just read an article and it said people love audits. And well, that's exactly what it was. We just weren't using that word. So we're about to implement using this word, get a quick audit of your business for free. And I feel my intention, my marketing brain says that's probably going to do better.
And maybe I see a trend too, Sal, where as marketers, we talk about pain points, like pain versus pleasure, right? And driving a desire, like using that pain point with the quiz, like what's holding you back, maybe isn't trending as well or doing as well as an audit seems so much more positive, right? Like uncover.
I'm going to get the results.
Yes, you're going to get the results.
Yeah. So and I think then they take the answer quite seriously because we have like a blueprint. But in saying that, one of the key marketing motivators, there are 5 marketing motivators, and one of them is fear. Now, fear has to be it's a like really fine line between using fear well and using fear badly. Fear is really prevalent in like the beauty and the wellness industry. No one, if you don't drink these shakes, you won't lose weight. If you don't use this cream, you'll have wrinkles, all that kind of stuff. But you can also use it in like the course industry by saying things like, if you don't want to get ripped off, download this checklist.
Or
if
waste
you
your
don't
time.
want to waste, waste is one of the cool words. That's a fear word. If you don't want to waste any more money, and here's the thing, because I love behavioral analytics and things like that. People are more adverse to losing something than they are gaining something. So people would rather not lose $10 than be given $10. And that's because to lose $10, you already had to have $10. But to gain $10, you didn't have it in the first place. So your motivation is less. But your motivation to not lose it is far greater. So when you think about that, it could just be simple wording and simple tweaking. And that's what somebody needs to be doing. So 100% autopilot it, but always keeping track of what's happening, what's not. Be researching, looking at what your competitors are doing. What sort of wording are they using? And maybe they're using this kind of fear tactic. Just give it a try. Don't copy, but just go, oh, how would that work in my business?
Yeah, no, I love that. And some people might be listening right now and maybe their heads are spinning a little bit in a great way. Like, I feel like you're giving us a marketing masterclass and I love it. You said starting with the buyers, and I agree. And I also tell my students, it doesn't have to be a huge list of buyers. It could be a small list, right, of passionate buyers. If you were going to give us one place to start even to grow that list, because you and I both know big lists that are the tire kickers. What's your word for tire kicker? What's your word for people who don't buy?
Free pull. The people who just want everything for free.
So free pull. So you and I both know, and we've been through that with plenty of clients. If I'm starting small, I've got a small list and I just want that small list of passionate buyers, like what's my one action you want me to take?
Okay. So this kind of links back into what I was saying about like building the course that the customers want rather than the course that you want. I made that mistake as well. I built the course I wanted rather than the course that they wanted. And then we had to change it all. One of the really easy ways to find out those boomerangs and drum beaters, what they would say about your course, is just going into Facebook groups, using the search button. So Facebook groups of your ideal client. Let me just preface that. Don't go into a mum's group asking, hey, would you buy a course about XYZ that has nothing to do with parenting, right? You need to find the groups that have your people, because otherwise it's just people giving you an opinion and they're not going to pay for it anyway. But going into groups and just using the search button, this is a little sneaky tactic that I do once a week, which is I go into business groups because I'm in retail and e-commerce, and I use the search button and I look for the words retail, e-commerce, shop, bricks and mortar. And then I just look at what people are posting.
Yep.
And sometimes the word product, depending on if not much has come up on the other ones. And then I just look at the questions that people are asking. So what is the solution that they want? Now, 9 times out of 10, I can give them my 9 ways to move stock without moving a sale. I just say, oh, hey, congratulations on your new shop. I know it's really difficult when you're holding all that dead inventory. I've got a free guide here that would help you. If you'd like it, here's the link, right? Or
Okay.
I've got a podcast as well called Bringing Business to Retail. Quite often, if I've had an episode that I know is relevant, I'll say, oh, I did an episode with, and it's not about me, with Gina. She's an expert in course creation. You should go and she gives so much gold away. So I still get the customer, but it's not self-promotion. And everything I'm doing is helping them. So you said, what's the like quick way to get the customers is go through there, create your, look at your runway, create your lead magnet, and then go back and say, oh, so many people ask me this question because you want to position yourself as an expert. I've had XYZ experience with it. So I put together a quick guide that you can grab for free here.
And you go into those groups because I know sometimes there's kind of a sensitive area here too, right? Depending on what the group is. But in these groups, you go into like the bigger groups where people are sharing their lead magnets and they're sharing their knowledge, right?
Yeah, and it's not a hard play. Hey, download my thing. You don't go in and post, hey guys, I just put together this. I mean, sometimes you can do that without getting in trouble, but that's really self-promotion.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're answering someone's question, and sometimes I did a webinar once on Facebook ads, and I had over 1,000 people register because I answered somebody's question in a Facebook group.
Yeah, that's great. And I love that. This is a great tip if you're listening right now to just go and to add value, right?
That's it. It's not self-promotion. You have to, it's not, don't go in there going, I'm a freaking guru.
Yeah, look at me.
Yeah, here's
Here's
thing.
how I can support you.
Yeah, that will help you. Yeah. And I still do that every week. I go through when when I'm procrastinating.
Yeah.
And I just know that between podcast episodes, and I have a little spreadsheet of all of our episodes, between podcast episodes and our opt-ins, because we have about 5 that we use, I just go in there, give a little piece of advice and say, hey, if you want this, you can grab it for free.
That's awesome. I'm curious, what lead magnets are you seeing right now that are working best in your opinion? What kind?
It's funny, it seems to go from one spectrum to the other, like a 1-page checklist or a cheat sheet, like with just simple dot points. We say 1 page, they generally be about 3 or 4 by the time you put your cover page, the
design,
content, and always remember when you're building this thing, because lots of people just build it and then there's no call to action. There's got to be a call to action in your lead magnet. So between cheat sheets and checklists, back in the day before this was even a thing, so 2007 I started, we put together, my first business was in selling eco baby products, and we put together a hospital bag must-have checklist. So things you should have in your hospital bag when you're having a baby. There's a gazillion of those out there online.
Yes.
We had thousands of people download that because every mother wants to know. Wants it, yeah.
Tried and true.
And so we positioned ourselves as experts and the difference was ours was I had an eco spin. So if you don't want to take a whole bunch of plastic stuff, here's our recommendation. Yeah. And so people would download that. I mean, this is how I've been in the business for a while. We used to have to people would email us and we'd have to email it back to them. It wasn't automated back then.
I love that. You're like, push a button and send it back.
So checklists are always great. Cheat sheets.
What do you think about a free course? Oh, again, I cut you off.
No, that's fine. Do you know, I think some of the big people do it. You see Amy do it. You see, it's different. I think it's different. And if you're at that level, then by all means, give it a go. But when you aren't well known, and I can say I wouldn't put this out. I don't think I'm at a position where I would do this.
Yeah.
What that's doing is people have already committed to buying. They just need, they already love someone like Amy, or they already love James Wedmore. They already love this person. They just need someone to give them that little extra push and to validate it themselves. And they want to self-validate. So going in and seeing one lesson, whether they like it or not, I reckon it has a huge conversion rate for them. But if the person who's on the other side of the fence doesn't know you, if they haven't been through that customer journey with you, if they haven't already opted in, and if we have time, can I give you another tip? Remind me to come back to that extra tip.
Yes.
To move them through that process quicker. Then what I find you're going to be doing is overwhelming them with information, right? And you know yourself, if you go to the Cheesecake Factory, you have 27 pages of food and you end up buying the same thing every single time because you can't make a decision.
Right.
It's the same thing. You go in there, maybe you do your first lesson or your first module.
Yeah.
If the person doesn't already know you, if they haven't connected with you, if they haven't been through the process, I think for them it gets overwhelming and they're like, holy crap, like I'm not 100% sure what's going on here. I don't know if I'm going to get the support that I need. I don't know what to expect from the rest of the course. And I don't know. Look, you test and measure. At the end of the day, that's what marketers do. You test and measure.
I do think it's a little more of a sophisticated lead magnet strategy. And I think it's nice to have a little bit of an audience for it. So, and then find out, right, and test and figure out what works for you. But what were you going to say is your other tip for this?
Okay. So this is kind of ties in perfectly with that. And the autopilot was, at some point, you're probably going to run paid ads to your lead magnet, whatever that looks like, whatever your opt-in looks like. Someone's going to have to sign up. They have to have a thank you page. Now, I would love you to test and measure selling something on the thank you page.
Yes.
So in marketing, we call it a tripwire. It could be, I mean, I've seen it something as high as $97.
Yep.
We use either $7 or $19. But that thing has to be relative to the download. So, for example, for our 9 ways to move stock, we then had some calculators that they could use to work out profit margins and inventory and things like that.
Nice. Yeah.
$7. It costs us nothing. But what it does do is 2 things. 1, it helps pay for some of the ads.
Yep.
But 2, if we can get them to make that micro commitment of $7, the chances of them converting to a $1,500 program or a $2,500 service or a $20K consulting with me is so much higher.
Yep. Teaches them to buy, conditions them to buy.
Teaches them to buy.
Yeah.
In our welcome sequence, the first email that they get, so after the delivery of whatever it is they downloaded, the next email that talks about me says, I give out a lot of free stuff. Here are 3 things that you might want. And there's like it's usually podcasts or a freebie download. And then it says, but I have heaps good paid stuff. And so, if you're here right now,
you're showing the value, right?
Showing the value.
Differentiating.
If you're here right now, I usually sell this workbook for $57. You can have it for $29. Now, I can tell you that the person who buys the $7 thing often buys the $29 thing.
Yep.
So now I've just made $36 from somebody. But but that person then, we're a bit more sophisticated, but that person then goes into a segment of highly engaged. So they will get offers quicker.
And if you're listening right now, and baby steps, right?
Baby steps. Just get it out there first.
Just have a thank you that has a call to action. And it's a tripwire, or at the very least, it leads to a piece of content for you, or it leads you down another path. And, so I'll have you back to talk just about tripwires. Let's do that.
Go for it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We're testing and measuring all the time.
Okay. I love that. I asked for questions before this podcast, and I did get a few. And someone was saying that they had a lot of tire kickers, and you call them the never buyers, the freeple. I call them the never buyers. So, and she was asking, do you delete them? What do I do? Okay. So what do we do? The answer is no, but what do I do with them?
Okay. First up, freeple can be your best drum beaters.
Just because they don't buy doesn't mean they're not going to be your ambassador. I call them ambassadors. You call them
ambassadors. Yeah.
Drum beater. Okay.
So those people could be purely aspirational. I'm talking to you about Amy. I have never bought anything of Amy's.
Okay.
I think she's awesome. I think she's amazing. I think she has some awesome content from what you've told me, but I've never bought anything. But it doesn't mean I wouldn't happily recommend her stuff.
Right. It's just, I've got plenty of people like that. Absolutely. Yeah.
It's just not what I need right now.
Yeah.
I'm not her ultimate customer.
Okay.
But also it's quite often they're aspirational customers. Maybe they can't afford what you sell, and they do. These people tend to listen to I literally have one person who can quote podcast numbers. I can't even quote podcast numbers.
Yeah, right.
You should listen to this episode that Sal did with Stephen Summers about Amazon. I'm like, oh yeah, you should.
That's awesome.
So first of all, don't just delete them.
Okay.
A couple of things. All this is automated, right? Once you do this once, you should never, ever have to do it again.
Okay.
So one is segmenting out people who don't open any of your emails.
Yes.
put those people into a bucket. If I think our trigger is 3 months. So at 3 months, if they still haven't opened any of your emails, then we put them through what's called a re-engagement sequence.
Mm-hmm.
And it totally depends on your brand voice. I'm quite forceful. Al says something like, hey, dude, you haven't opened any of my emails. Do you really want to be here? Now, maybe you don't need to be that forceful.
Taking it lightly. Yeah.
Yeah. But that's my brand. Like people come to me to be forced to take action.
Yeah.
And so if I wrote an email that was like, oh, hey, looks like you haven't really noticed. I haven't noticed you haven't opened them. Are you a bit busy at the moment? Like, it's like, no, you came on this list because you wanted to learn what you had to do to grow your business.
Right.
So we send, look, I don't write my own emails, but I'm pretty sure there's about 6 emails in that sequence. So at 3 months, they get one, they get another one, I think 10 days later, then they get another one 4 days later, and then it goes 3 days, 2 days, 1 day, the day. So
and then they go to that. Then they go to that bucket, right?
Then they get deleted. So
then they get deleted. Okay.
Yeah, the last email. I don't think we've ever had. I mean, I don't look, but I don't. My team don't tell me that anyone actually gets deleted. So the last one is, dude, just press this button if you still want to get emails. All they have to do is press the button.
Right.
If they don't press the button, you don't need to be paying for them to be there. They'll come back when they need you. They'll download another thing. They know who you are. And it happens. I've got a decent sized list, and we know that about just over a third, it's about 38% of our list actually open regularly.
Yeah.
That's not every email, but regularly. So 2/3 of the list are very sporadic openers.
Yeah.
But it depends on how forceful you want to be. I'm really comfortable with having advocates and ambassadors on my list.
Yeah.
And knowing that the other thing I wanted to say is, just because someone doesn't open your email doesn't mean they didn't open your email.
Yeah. Okay. What do you mean by that?
So
tell me more about that.
If you're someone like me who skims emails, I don't open an email unless I have to open an email. So I have on my Outlook, I have the reading pane.
Yeah.
If you read an email like that, it doesn't trigger the pixel to say that it's opened.
It's opened, right.
So I am forever getting emails from people saying, you don't open my emails. It's like, no, I don't open them, but I read them.
Yep. More important.
So do not think that just because someone doesn't open an email doesn't mean they're not reading it, because you could be an email skimmer like me, and then I have to go and click the button saying, no, I actually do want your stuff. I just don't.
Right. And it forces you to take action, which I love. Like going back to your way in the beginning, right?
And realistically, do you want them on your list if they don't want to take action? Like if they can't do something like click a button after 5 emails, then they don't need to be there.
I agree. You don't want them.
You're just noise in their inbox that's annoying them.
Sal, this has been amazing. If you were going to give us one final thought, what do you want to share?
Okay. If you really want to get more customers, you know that I have my 5 core pillars of resale success.
Yes.
One of those is customers. If you really want to do this thing, focus on getting customers for the next 90 days. Make that the core thing you do. Sure, you're going to have to do your admin. You're going to have to do your bits and pieces.
Yep.
But every time you are going to procrastinate, because now that I've said that, you will notice this. Every time you're like, oh, I'm just going to go and create a graphic because I don't really want to do something. No, go and get more customers.
We call that motion versus action. Yeah.
Motion versus action.
From Atomic
I call
Habits.
it being busy versus productive.
Yes.
So every time you think you're going to be busy, I want you to catch yourself and go, what am I doing right now to drive more customers?
Love it.
And it is not creating a graphic in Canva.
Yeah, no, it is not.
It is going into those Facebook groups. It's going and asking if you can be on a podcast. It is
love
going
that.
and
sharing your lead magnet, right? Adding value. Yes, love that.
90 days and give yourself a goal. So I want 50 people. I want 100 people. But you also got to give yourself a stretch goal. So it's funny because if you give yourself a goal, you tend to taper off towards the end. If you give yourself a stretch goal, you might say, I want 100, but my stretch goal's 200.
Right.
Trust me. If you only give yourself 100, you'll get to 90 and kind of, If you have the stretch goal of 200 and you hit 100 halfway through the month, oh my goodness, you will be pushing yourself to try and get, because we are inherently competitive.
Yes.
So give yourself 90 days of focusing on just customer acquisition, and you will see amazing results.
Okay. 90 days, everyone listening, working on driving customers, getting lead gen going. Yes, Sal, thank you. Where can we learn more about you? Keep in touch.
I would say come and listen to me at the Bringing Business to Retail podcast. I know that you're not necessarily in retail, but I talk about stuff like this.
Yes.
You can follow me on social, the Selena Knight, but let's be honest, there's nowhere I really hang out very much.
Listen to the podcast. There'll be
Listen to the
plenty
podcast.
of great marketing nuggets in there. You are an absolute genius. That's it. We'll list it in the show notes. Everything you need to know will be in that podcast.
Cool. Well, I would love it if people could. I don't hang out on social media much, but if you take my advice, I'd love it if you I do read all the DMs because I don't get that many.
Okay.
DM me and tell me the results that you got.
For the 90-day call
for the
to
90-day
action.
challenge.
Yes, the 90-day challenge. Okay, I love that. Please DM Sal. I'll include your social in the show notes. And thanks so much for taking the time.
No problems. Anytime.
What did I tell you? Is Sal not amazing? She's one of my favorite people to collaborate with and just work through things with. She is an incredible, amazing sounding board. Make sure you opt into her magic at selenaknight.com, and I'll definitely have her back because she needs to share more tips and insights with us. Please rate and review this episode, especially if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, and subscribe. I would love to get the word out about this podcast so you and I can help build up our course creator community. Until next week, go create, be you and be brilliant, and get it done.